Yeah, we have sort of, there's nothing interesting going on here anymore. I know, I do not pay attention when I'm adding garlic anymore. I just add more and more garlic. It's terrible. Kind of could have made a half a pound of this. It would have been fine. Do you want to take this on the camping trip? I mean, on our trip up. Thank you to Bob Irwin, EAP's photography editor, for letting me also use his home as a test kitchen.
Happy holidays, ladies and gentlemen.
Which holiday?
Well, getting there.
I'm also the publisher of this book, and I'm the publisher of Exterminating Angel Press. I'm not sure how many of my friends and family know this, and we've just published our first 3 books, one of which is Jam Today. Charlotte! The star has arrived. It's really it's like a geological time study of my life here. We started our publishing company with the idea that we would, in a small way, question what I call dominant cultural stories. So any story, any book on any subject which says, well, why do we have to think about things that way? Why can't we start thinking about things in a different way? I was totally open to. And the first book that we published, which is doing really well, is the Supergirls Fashion, Feminism, Fantasy, and the History of Comic Book Heroines. And it's by Mike Madrid, who's also a San Franciscan, who I didn't know before this.
Daly City.
Daly City, sorry. He's also the creative director of Exterminating Angel Press. We're really lucky because he designs all the books. And then the other one's by an independent historian, Brian Griffith, Correcting Jesus, 2,000 Years of Changing the Story, where Brian talks about how the story of Jesus has gotten tweaked a touch, and by which forces over the years. Now you say to yourself, what do these books have in common? And let me tell you, everyone said, what does a cookbook have in common with those books? It seemed perfectly obvious to me. I mean, you can kind of see that in this. This is probably not your conventional cookbook, right? And indeed it isn't. It's more in the tradition of like MFK Fisher, if I may breathe her name. The fact that it's about food is really about the fact that food is so important to a happy life, and that too many times we forget that everyday life is the most important thing. I really think that everyday life is the most important thing. I think that nothing beyond everyday life is the most important thing. And I do think that as a culture, especially in the mass media, we forget about that. So that's what this is innate of. And the piece I'm going to read is about a friend of mine who died this year, in fact. A friend of mine died, and the dinner I cooked a few nights later was absolute crap. Every single thing came out bad. The cauliflower cheese burned on top, the sauce thinned out unpleasantly, the potatoes tasted mushy and bland. I overcooked the asparagus. If anything was needed to convince me that cooking is an expression of how you feel in yourself and in your body, of how solidly you're linked to the earth and to your own deepest needs and desires, that did it. I could see my body running away from the basic facts of my life, because those basic facts killed my friend and then would kill me. So I didn't enjoy cooking. I didn't enjoy eating. All the connections in my circuitry went awry. I think that's the way things are. I don't think you can change that. But I think you look it in the eye, you give yourself and your body a break, and you wake up every day feeling a little differently about it, going back and forth. One bad day, one a little better, one worse, one inexplicably happy, which is the usual process of healing after any kind of a wound. Then you notice you've come back to yourself and to the world and to life, and you figure you were damn lucky. You're damn lucky to have the time you do have, and you were lucky to have the time you had with your friend. So that happened too. So I want to give you a recipe that I made for him when he was alive. He was a most confirmed man about town, and there was never much to speak of in the way of edibles in his tiny, utterly chaotic kitchen. Dining out, you see, a way of life. Alex and I would always stay with him when we were in London, and he would always dine out with us. But when I travel, after a while, I get utterly sick of dining out, especially when I'm dining out in indifferent places, known more for their decor and clientele than for the love they put into their food. So one night, I just balked. I'll cook us something to eat in front of the telly so we don't have to go out. Whatever you've got in the kitchen, I'll just conjure something up. My friend looked at me appalled. There is nothing in that kitchen. I said, well, we'll see. So I settled him and Alex down with a couple of beers and I went to forage. As I recall, I didn't make anything particularly noteworthy that evening, but I did manage to keep us all from starvation based on some dusty boxes of exotic dried pasta, which every bachelor has in their house, by the way. A gift bottle of expensive olive oil from his favorite Italian restaurant, a couple of packets of macadamia nuts, and, surprise, the herbs I found growing ornamentally in his garden. Good heavens, didn't even know they were there, let alone edible. The next time we came to stay, I opened the refrigerator to get a bottle of white wine, and there they were, 4 eggplant. Anyone who's a cook knows that's funny.
I went into the living room.
Ahem, I said, and my friend pretended not to hear. Why are there 4 eggplant in your refrigerator? And, might I add, a head of garlic sitting on the counter? I love eggplant. I eat it all the time. So the next time we came to stay, oh, sorry, you're distracting me there. And I grinned at that. The vision of my friend, Natalie attired, cooking himself an eggplant for supper. But I got the message. And I went out shopping for the few things I could pick up down the street. I made a bunch of salads, and the best of the lot was eggplant caviar. Here's how. Prick however many eggplants you have with a fork so they don't explode while they cook. Put them on a foil-lined cookie sheet in a 400-degree oven until they're softened and crumpled, probably about 30-45 minutes. It won't matter much if they overcook a little, but you don't want to undercook them. Key about eggplant. Overcook the hell of them. Never undercook them. When they're done, bring them out and let them cool. Just enough so you can handle them without burning yourself. They taste better if they soak up the fixings while they're still warm. This is true potato salad too. If you want, you can make the dressing in a bowl while you wait. Either that or just add all these disparate ingredients one by one to the eggplant when you've chopped it up, then taste for seasoning. I do it either way, it depends on how I feel. That night I probably split the eggplant in half, scooped and scraped the pulp out into a bowl, mashed it about, splashed olive oil in to moisten it. Then I added minced garlic, some chopped capers I'd found in the back of a cupboard. I don't know why it is, but bachelors always have capers. I added the squeezings of a lemon I'd bought from a newsagent around the corner, some malt and salt to taste, and then lots and lots of the chopped parsley and mint I found growing on the flower bed borders in the garden.
That's right.
We had this with warmed up pita bread, also bought at the newsagents, as I recall. And it was a very jolly evening indeed. Eggplant caviar for our friend Hercules, which makes me happy and sad to think about both at the same time. So,